I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you to today's session. This will be the last session in our series Fundamentals in timeSensor Legal 365. Today, in the seventh part, we will be briefly focusing on the ticket system and its workflows. If you have any questions on the topic, I would like to point out the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen. You are welcome to ask questions there during the webinar. I will answer them live, and now we will get started. Let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Zoe Schiewek. I am responsible as account manager for the German-speaking region. This includes the German-speaking part of Switzerland and Germany. As I mentioned earlier, today let's take a look at the agenda. We will be focusing on our ticket system and workflows. I would like to briefly explain what all of this means. The ticket system is a form of electronic note and delivery slip. Workflows are essentially a way to electronically request an approval related to this. So we will first look at all the functionalities of the ticket system and then move on to the workflows. After that, we will see two practical examples in detail. We will also take a look at how the process is applied in timeSensor Legal 365. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. As mentioned, you can find the question and answer box at the bottom of the screen. We are logging in as Ms. Quana Monika Musteras, we can already tell from the initials in the upper left corner. We already know this from the timesheet video, so if we click here, we end up in Ms. Monika Muster's timesheet, and just one level below that, we find the ticket system, which is the topic of today's session. We can already see an action in the inbox of the ticket system. We notice a small red dot is blinking. This means that there are certain tasks, including even urgent ones, that Ms. Monika Muster herself needs to personally take care of. The whole system, as a matter of fact, uses a color code. Now this dot is already red. That means, just like we learned about deadlines in the last webinar, the same color scheme is used here as well. That means here too, the red color indicates a certain level of urgency. We can see this because, as you can see, the deadline, which is displayed here in the deadline column, is set for today. As a result, in this case, the task is classified as urgent. If the deadline were still a few days away, the dot would appear either green or yellow. At the very top, we can see a window which is titled as Tickets. This title is unmistakable. In timeSensor legal, tickets are essentially a kind of node, and these are divided into my tasks and my delegations. This means either I am assigned a task by colleagues or supervisors, which I am responsible for completing, or I delegate tasks to said colleagues or supervisors and then find the corresponding tickets under my delegations. Now we see another change. We are also shown how many unfinished tasks or overdue tasks and delegations we have. At the bottom left, we can see our own user icon or profile picture. In this case, I see Ms. Monika Muster since I am currently logged in as her. This way I can decide whose tickets we are viewing, although through this section we only have access to my own ticket system. Now let's take a closer look at the tasks for just a moment. This symbol here is the chat icon. If I click on it, then all of the people who are currently logged into the software will be displayed on the screen, and I could then easily start a chat or conversation with any of them. Of course, that's something I can't demonstrate right now since I'm currently working alone in our system, in our law firm. The colleagues are on vacation today. At the moment, I don't have the option to chat with a colleague, but you certainly do. And now we come to one of the most important fields. In this field, we can create a new task. There are 3 different types of tickets. I'd like to go through them now, if I may. The yellow variant is in fact the standard ticket, as usual. You can think of it like a completely blank, unused sticky note, just waiting for you to write something on it whenever you're ready. This type of ticket can be freely configured. We'll take a closer look at this in a moment. I'll close this now. There are also other types of tickets. As we can see, this one looks a bit different. Here, for example, we have the phone note. Here too, we can check a few boxes at the bottom, simply to make our work easier and more efficient, so that we don't have to fill everything in manually ourselves. We can specify that a certain person, for example, called, and then forward the whole thing to our team members or colleagues without having to enter exactly what information we want to record. There is also actually a transmission slip. This one is about documents. With this transmission slip, I can easily forward documents to colleagues without having to explain or describe them. All right. Let's just close this for now and take a closer look at what tickets Ms. Monica Muster currently has in her tasks. When I select it, we can actually see that a preview window simply opens up on the right side. I don't have to click on this ticket separately. We have direct access to the ticket on the right side. At the very top, of course, we have Ms. Muster, since this is an incoming ticket. This is now a category that we really shouldn't touch here in our tasks, because we are responsible for this ticket. The ticket was sent to us, as we can see here in the from row and in the picture, by Ms. Alina Arnold, a partner colleague. By sending us this document, which she has attached here, she is asking us to file the statement of claim in our records. What is special here is that when I click on this statement of claim, which is attached to this data record as an accompanying document, I am taken directly to the archive of the person concerned or to the case file of the relevant mandate. Here I can then see the statement of claim that Ms. Arnold wanted to draw my attention to. At the same time, I have also received the assignment from Ms. Arnold among the attachments. I could select and open this document on my computer. Now let's take a look at the further functionalities of this ticket. These are the same everywhere. We find them in every ticket, whether it's a note, a transmission slip, or a completely normal ticket. The only differences are in the color and in the lower section of the ticket, but they all can do the same things. Up here, we can clearly see to whom the ticket is actually addressed in this particular case. In the second line, we see which mandate it concerns, or in this case, which address. Here, my colleague entered into the system Mr. Rex Regius, who is listed here as the person affected by the ticket and also as the contact person, the addressee, the holder of the ticket. In this case, below that, we have a section with a deadline. On the left side there, it says complete by. Here we can enter the deadline by which the matter must be resolved. As I mentioned at the beginning, the information entered here correlates with the color code that we see at the top left in the ticket system when the tickets arrive with us. In the row below, there is a small toggle, and it's very important there so that colleagues who can view this area can see and fully understand the status of this ticket, that I specify exactly what I am doing with this ticket. You'll see in a moment, I have the ticket, I set it again to unattended, just opened, and as a result, the status here has already switched to read. Now, when I have completed this ticket, I should, of course, set the status to completed so that my colleagues are also properly informed about it. Furthermore, I have 3 different tabs available at the bottom of the interface, where I am able to specify certain settings or follow up on a variety of different options and features that are presented to me. On the one hand, we have the task description, and on the other, we also have a chat here. In this case, I have the advantage that if I want to consult with Ms. Arnold, I don't have to pick up the phone right away, but can simply write here in the chat. I can send it, and it will then also be visible to Ms. Arnold in the chat. Then we also have a log here. This log is also, in fact, related to the window we just saw here. This control records ticket status. Here I can see whether this ticket has already been clicked on several times, whether it has been opened. Here the ticket's history, viewable by colleagues, is logged. So this section is very important. And down here we can see exactly how it is displayed to us in the list and from whom we received this ticket. That's all for the section about my tasks. Now let's take another quick look at my delegations. These are structured similarly, except here it's not about tasks for myself, but delegations tasks for others. If I want to assign a task to colleagues or supervisors, I click on the little arrow at the top, and then we can also see, for example, that I have received a phone message from one of our assistants, Miss Steinle with a request to call back. Ticket sections behave similarly. In this particular case, it is indeed possible and even appropriate to substitute them for one another. You should come to an agreement within your firm on exactly how you want to handle the process specifically, which node, which notepad, which ticket, or which type you will use for which process in your firm. We will now, at this point, conclude the overview of the ticket system and then take a closer look at how it specifically relates to the various workflows that are involved. After that, we will look at practical examples of both. I will now navigate to a dossier at this moment. To do this, I open the addresses and select Mr. Rex Regis. In this scenario, for example, we have already held a meeting, and now we want to send the detailed meeting minutes to a colleague so that they can carefully review and provide their approval. This step ensures everyone is on the same page. Let's continue as before with the workflows. For this, I go to the draft section in Mr. Rex Regis's dossier, where various documents are stored. In this scenario, our goal is to forward a document containing the minutes from a recent meeting to the appropriate recipients. We'll leave this document empty as an example. We won't archive it, but instead we'll just save it as a draft in this case. We'll also rename it to meeting minutes for better understanding. And we can see the name changes. Now, we want to forward this ticket. We want to send it on to our colleagues. In this particular case, we first click on the action menu, making sure that the draft document is selected, and then we proceed to request approval for it. In this window, we are able to specify in detail how exactly we would like to receive feedback regarding the requested approval. We will be notified if approved or denied. Of course, the process is configured right. In this particular case, for example, I want to send it to Ms. Arnold and let her know that she should please review the document carefully, since she also participated in the meeting and may have additional information or important details to add to the document. Here I have the option to have only Ms. Arnold review it if I choose, but I could also have it reviewed by several people. In this case, I have the option to let these people review it one after the other in sequence. The very significant difference here is that one of these options allows for changes to be made, while the other does not. This means that if I send a document to several people for approval at the same time, those people do not have the ability to make changes. This behavior is due to the fact that we can only have one user editing a data record at a time. So if two employees try to access a document simultaneously, it simply won't work. If you want to keep the option to make changes, select the sequential review with editing rights. In this case, approval will be requested one after the other. This is done while adhering to the deadline, which is essentially divided up accordingly. If I set the deadline for tomorrow at 5 p.m., the first person will not receive a deadline of 5 p.m. tomorrow, but rather a shortened deadline. This ensures that each caseworker has enough time to review the document and, if necessary, add something. However, in this case, we are starting the approval process only with Ms. Arnold. The deadline also works for us, so we can now start the approval process. Compared to before, when the draft had the status in progress, the status is now in circulation. A document has the status in progress as long as it can still be modified, meaning it is not yet finalized. If I send the draft for approval, it will then receive the status in circulation. A document in circulation can still be edited, but it can only be edited by the person who holds the document in the approval process. We will now close everything. If I navigate to my ticket system above, which you can find at the top of the platform interface, it is of course a delegation that I have assigned to someone else, and I will be able to locate it there again later for reference or follow-up. This allows me to keep track of all the tasks I have delegated. Now, if we log in as Ms. Arnold, we can see that the review request is visible under the section labeled My Tasks at the top of her dashboard, making it easy for her to find and address any tasks that have been assigned to her. It looks like this. That's all there is to it. Here, as Ms. Arnold, we can now officially commence the meeting minutes for today's meeting. We had previously said that we would leave it without any content once we have opened the meeting minutes and have no further changes. Or if we still have changes, we can either save it here or simply discard it. In the case that we have no changes, we would therefore discard it. The document remains intact, and now as Ms. Alina Arnold, who has received this task, I can either approve the draft or, if necessary, reject the approval. So now we are right in the middle of the third item on the agenda, which, as you know, is the practical examples, and we'll be discussing them in detail. Now we would like to take a closer look at the process in the regular ticket system. In our current scenario, the situation is that we want to send a ticket to Miss Monica Muster. To do this, we click on My Delegations and create a new ticket here. For example, if I want to record a phone call specifically, a conversation that I want to forward to Miss Monica Muster, in order to delegate a callback request to her, I proceed as follows. In this case, I find the phone note to be appropriate for this situation. We simply record a delegation in the form of a phone note and indicate that a certain client has called. How do we accomplish this? First, we carefully select the contact from the list, the one we want to message, as usual. We do this via a selector window, which allows us to search and look for Miss Regia specifically. She is the person who contacted us today. In our example, we drag her over and we can see the address is immediately adopted. Next, I fill in the info field. If I want to, I can always add some additional information or details here if I feel it is needed. However, this is not absolutely necessary or required at all. I can do exactly the same below. Up there is a kind of title, and down here is a sort of text area. To simplify the process, which helps make things easier to follow, I enter the phrase has called right here. Just as an example, Miss Regia called today regarding the ongoing matter, and we would like to kindly ask Miss Muster, since she is her client and is actively managing the mandate as the lead attorney, to please return her call. The title up here, the subject line, you can think of it like the subject of an email. We could write in there, for example, that it's specifically about a phone call. Of course, if you prefer, I can also give it a completely different title. And if, for example, while having the phone conversation with Miss Regia, I have already made a small note because Miss Regia has already given me some information and I don't want Miss Muster to have to ask for this information again redundantly, then I could simply include this little note that I made as an attachment to the ticket and send it along as well. If Miss Muster has any questions regarding this particular case, she could ask them in the chat at any time. We send the ticket to Miss Muster. Up here we could set the date and time, but it's fine. This is the current date and time. We can see that the ticket arrives with Miss Muster as unread and pending action. Now we just log out once again and then log back in as Miss Muster. As we can clearly see, the detailed information regarding our ticket is conveniently displayed right at the very top of the screen. If we happen to have a follow-up question about it, we can simply ask it via the chat function. We just need to type our question and then press the Enter key. And what we observe is that since there is now some activity happening in the chat, a small speech bubble icon appears on the screen. This little speech bubble suggests to us that there is an action currently taking place in the chat, indicating that an active follow-up question has been made by someone. This visual cue helps us notice that there is ongoing interaction in the chat. So when we see the speech bubble, we should check the chat. To be on the safe side, I can also set the status to chat so that the speech bubble appears. In this case, Ms. Arnold will be informed as a notification via the ticket system that I have asked her a follow-up question in the chat. Now we have reached the end of the webinar. Thank you very much for your participation. If you have any further questions, please feel free to sincerely contact me or reach out to our hotline. You can also find additional helpful documentation on the topic on our website. There, as well as on our YouTube channel, you will find more webinar recordings and training videos.